If you're a brand owner who's built traction online, maybe through Shopify, Amazon, even TikTok, and now you're eyeing US retail, this video is for you. Because every year, thousands of brands pitch retailers, but less than 5% ever get past the first screen, and the rest never even sit across a buyer. So in this video, I'm going to uncover what the top 5% know, the part that rookies always miss, and I've seen it firsthand working with hundreds of clients over the years here at Crossbridge. The truth is, retail isn't a straight line. I see it more and more as a maze of hidden gatekeepers. And I think point number 2 will surprise a lot of you, because most people think retail starts with a pitch to a buyer, but it's actually not as straightforward as you think. Most people think retail starts at convincing a buyer, but before a buyer even knows you exist, you gotta get on their radar. And in the US, the radar isn't Instagram or TikTok, it's actually closed systems built for filtering out the noise. Think of the scale here, right? A single retailer gets thousands of pitches every single year, and there's no way a category buyer can skim through every email and take every call. So they use filters in the same way that recruiters would use a resume software, basically to decide which brands are worth taking a look at. And one of those filters is RangeMe. It's an online product discovery platform used by retailers like Walmart, Target, Walgreens, and CVS to manage all these inbound pitches. Think of it like LinkedIn meets resume board, but for products. And if you're not in the system, a lot of buyers won't ever see you. And then there's ECRM, and that's efficient collaborative retail marketing. It works kind of like speed dating between brands and buyers. They run category-specific events in person or virtual, and if you're in snacks, you sit with the snack buyers. If you're in beauty, you meet beauty buyers, etc. So every meeting is 10 to 15 minutes, and buyers like it because they can review 20, 30, sometimes 50 brands in a single event instead of juggling a lot of these single-off meetings. And for new or foreign brands, this might be the only way they can get a real face time with a major retailer. There's usually a fee to participate, sometimes thousands of dollars, so it feels, pay to play. But compared to chasing cold intros, it's efficient. And by the way, ECRM actually now owns RangeMe, so those two platforms are now tightly connected. And finally, you've got retail portals. So things like Walmart Retailing or Target Partners Online. And these are formal submission systems where your product info gets logged into buyer's database for review. And outside of these platforms, trade shows still matter. So you have Expo West, the Fancy Food Show, and all the category-specific expos. But even here, buyers aren't walking the floor hoping to discover someone. They show up to shortlist serious, retail-ready brands, so think of them more like industry job fairs than open marketplaces. So to sum it up, you have RangeMe, which is kind of like a resume filter. You have ECRM, which is speed dating session. And you have trade shows, which are like job fairs. And now none of these guarantee a yes. But if you're not in these channels, it's like applying for a job without ever submitting your resume. You basically don't stand a chance. Getting a retailer's attention is only step 1. The real barrier is access though, because buyers work through brokers, distributors, and sales reps who control introductions. They're kind of like toll booths on a highway to the shelf, and without them, you're not getting through. So here's how it really works. You have brokers and sales reps who are the people who keep direct relationships with the buyers. They're the ones walking the aisles, presenting new products, making sure categories stay fresh, and they don't work for free. So most of them get paid on commission, usually 3 to 6%, and sometimes they'll ask for monthly retainer too. And not all of them are worth the same. Some brokers have real influence and can get the buyer's attention, while others are basically just order takers. And then you've got distributors. Big names like UNFI, Key, Core-Mark. Many retailers actually require products to flow through a specific distributor. So Whole Foods runs through UNFI, Sprouts through Key, and if you're not in their system, the buyer probably won't even look at you. And on the other hand, distributors don't just move boxes. They set the terms to minimum orders, slotting fees, and promotional allowances. And this is where I see a lot of founders make an error. They think, I'll just pitch to Walmart. But the reality is, if you're not already inside the distributors or brokers network, your email probably won't get a reply. And the best way to picture it is, it's like trying to sell directly to a CMO of Fortune 500 company when you don't know anyone inside. The gatekeepers will stop you before you even get close. And retail kind of works the same way. So let's say you finally land that meeting with a category buyer. That's a big win, but it's not the finish line. Harsh as it may seem, the buyers aren't there to hear your story. They're there to decide if your product can outperform the one it would replace. And now you might be asking yourself, well, what are they looking for exactly? And the answer is proof of demand. Your D2C sales, your Amazon reviews, your regional sales, etc. But it's also velocity, how fast your SKUs can turn compared to others, margins in trade spend, whether there's enough profit and promo budget left for the retailer. But I would also say reliability. Can you ship on time, in full, without creating headaches? And I would say do not forget that timing matters too. Category reviews run on calendars. So if you meet outside of that review cycle, the feedback is usually something like, hey, we like the product, but please come back in 6 months when we're reviewing that category again. I think also understanding their mindset here is crucial because buyers are risk managers. They're not investors. Their job is to protect that category, not to bet necessarily on your vision. And this is another place I see business owners often blow it. They show up with branding decks, founder stories, while skipping the hard numbers. But across the table, there's only one story that matters, and that's can you move faster, drive more profit, and cause fewer headaches and problems than the product you'd replace. So after the buyer shows interest, the next hurdle really isn't about the product itself. It's about proving your setup can actually run in their system. So let's separate two layers here, right? You have regulatory compliance, which is what gets you in the door. And here it's for food and CPG. Usually means FDA approval or registration, depending on the category. USDA oversight, if you're dealing with meat, poultry, or organic claims. And FTC compliance around your labeling and advertising claims. On top of that, liability insurance is mandatory. And things like GS1 barcodes, nutrition facts panels, and allergen labeling are non-negotiable. And depending on your category, you might also need certifications like non-GMO, kosher, or gluten-free. Because without those, not only are you not retail ready, you're not even legally allowed on the shelf. But once that foundation is in place and you've earned the buyer's interest, the next layer is retail systems and logistics. And the first I would say is EDI, right? Every major retailer requires it. Orders, invoices, shipping notices, they all have to move automatically between their system and yours. And once you're set up, you're on the same system Walmart, Target, Whole Foods already use with all of their suppliers. But then comes distribution logistics, right? So shipping to our retail DC isn't like shipping to customers. The rules are strict with pallet labels, case packs, barcodes, and OTIF. And if you miss the requirements, the retailer hits you with either fees or just simply refuses the load. And if you get it right, the product moves through the warehouse onto the shelf without anyone noticing. And to me, that's the goal. By this point, the buyer already likes the product. And so what they care about now, besides sales obviously, is whether you can deliver smoothly week after week without causing extra work on their side. Even after you clear compliance, the big retailers won't roll you out nationwide on day one. Instead, they'll start with a probation period, a test order. And it usually means a regional launch, maybe a few hundred stores, and the point is simple. Prove you can handle demand and compliance before they scale you up. And this is where operations get tested. For example, can you keep shelves stocked? Can your 3PL hit the right labels and timing every single time? And don't forget the long payment terms, because you need cash to cover production and freight upfront. Meanwhile, the buyer is watching your numbers in real time. Walmart has Retail Link, Target has Partners Online, And these are dashboards that track velocity, shipments, and deductions down to a week. On these screens, they're looking at three things basically: velocity, execution, and support. For example, are you selling enough units per store per week? Are your shipments on time and compliant? Are you backing promotions the way you agreed to? Think of it like a job trial. You might have the offer, but they're still watching to see if you can actually perform before making it permanent. Okay, you've passed the test order, and now you're on shelf, which is a milestone most brands will never ever see. From here, it's less about proving yourself and more about keeping the machine steady. So communication starts mattering a lot. You have regular check-ins with the buyer to keep you aligned on the promotions and upcoming reviews. Brokers and reps shift from gatekeepers to advocates. They're there to protect and grow your space. You have promotions and trade spend, which now become a lever. End caps, seasonal promos, in-store displays. These are table stakes to drive velocity once you're in now. And data is your scoreboard, because buyers don't just look at their own numbers, POS numbers. They use syndicated data from providers like Nielsen IQ, Circana, Spins to see how you stack up across the category. Now, this is a very deep topic, and I'll break it down in a completely separate video. And then shelf reviews. Don't see resets as threats anymore. They're chances to expand. Strong velocity here can mean more SKUs, more stores, more regions, and at this stage, retail is really about consistency. It's about staying compliant, funding growth, and proving every single week why your brand deserves the shelf space it earned. Alright, that's all I prepared for this video, and I hope you found the breakdown useful. If you did, I'd appreciate if you give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our weekly videos. And if you're in the process of going into retail and want help with strategy, securing deals, or building the operations to support it, reach out to us at Crossbridge. We literally do this every day.